It's worth making a distinction between God as a being with some set of divine characteristics versus God as a necessary being. Because the claim that a being with some set of divine characteristics is possible is not quite the kind of possibility the ontological argument needs. Because some set of divine characteristics doesn't entail necessity.
Some set of divine characteristics? Like it's typically not framed as some set though. I don't know, like it's typically seen as the highest, the greatest, the highest conceivable being, or the most perfect being, or a maximally great being, right? So it's using conceivability on that basis. I'm not sure what you mean by some set of. Are you saying in that context, or are you saying something else?
Yeah, I just mean in like the conversation that's been going on here. I feel like it would be easy to slide between like some God with some arbitrary set of divine characteristics versus the more specific conception that the ontological argument's talking about.
Okay. I mean, are you saying? But at first, I thought you were going to go somewhere else. I thought you were going to say that God is not a necessary being.
I don't think he is. No.
Well, no, I'm not saying whether he exists or not. I'm saying whether or not necessity is entailed in the idea of God.
Yeah, I don't think necessity is entailed in the existence of any being.
Any being? Like anything that has being?
Yeah, any particular entity or set of entities.
So there's no state of affairs in the world that is fundamentally necessary for all others?
Right, there's no logical necessity of that sort.
I don't follow that at all. I think there has to be, like, okay, so things, it seems, could be different ways. That means there's like contingency, and then there's going to be something which sort of actuates all contingency, and then that thing wouldn't itself, like, relatively would not be contingent, right, to the other things. That would make it necessary. Right. So
relatively not contingent?
Well, we're just going up the chain here. I'm trying to explain it in terms of like how one thing connects to the other thing, and then it leads to a final thing.
I mean, if you're describing something that's like necessary for the world to look the way that it does, I mean, that's fine, right? Like in our world, as a matter of fact, you need gravity for planets to orbit the sun. And if in our world there was no gravity, there would be no orbits.
Yeah, are you just denying that there's something that makes everything the way that it is?
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't make sense.
Why not?
Because that would mean there was no cause for anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't believe in cause.
Oh, well, hold on here. Like I just said that gravity in our world is necessary for the sun to go around the earth, right? But like there are necessities in our world.
No, that would just be an illusion. That would just be an illusion then.
No.
Yeah, you're saying there's nothing that makes it the way that it is necessarily. What do you mean?
Yeah, if there was only one change that took place, and that one single change was for gravity to disappear, the earth wouldn't be revolving around the sun anymore.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not tracking what you're saying, man. Like, so the Big Bang, right? Is like prior to the states that followed it. You had some condensed state, and without that state, you couldn't have the actualization of other states, which in turn led to our state of existence. So, the Big Bang, in that sense, is necessary for our state to exist in the way that it does. And if the prior state hadn't occurred, the current state also would not have formed, right? So there's like a literal necessity of something that had an impact on another thing, a cause, right? That's all I'm saying. It's like there's things that cause other things, and the higher you go up on the causal chain, the more necessary the things that we're describing are, until you get to one thing which is absolutely necessary, which I think you denied.
But like I think in order to have the sort of principle of sufficient reason that you're talking about there, like you need that necessary being in the first place.
I didn't catch that because the other guy was talking.
Yeah. Yeah. In order to have the principle of sufficient reason, it says everything has a reason why it is thus and not otherwise. In order for that to be like a principle that definitely always holds, you need a necessary being to begin it. Right? You need a being that is its own explanation. And if you don't have a being that is its own explanation, then the principle of sufficient reason doesn't hold. And if the principle of sufficient reason doesn't hold, then the chain that you're talking about, which is, as a matter of fact, correct, so far as I can tell, isn't necessary.
It's okay. What do you mean it's not necessary then?
So, like earlier, I said if one single change takes place and that one single change is gravity disappearing, then the Earth wouldn't revolve around the sun anymore. But you can imagine two changes taking place, right? Gravity disappearing, and then something that, although it's like we'd give it a different explanation in physics, has the same effect on the Earth. So gravity could disappear and the Earth could keep revolving around the sun.
How does that imply that nothing is required to make things the way they are?
Well, because I just gave a scenario in which gravity is not required for orbit.
No, you didn't. You just made a statement in a vacuum with no explanation.
Well, it's just logically possible.
Not really, not as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what's the contradiction?
It's just a statement. There is no reason to believe what you're stating.
Oh, the claim is just that it's logically possible. It's true if there's no contradiction in it.
It's true if there's no contradiction in it?
Yeah. I mean, just think about the difference between these two sentences, right? Sentence 1, there's a lion in the room next to you. Sentence 2, it's logically possible there's a lion in the room next to you. The first sentence is only true if there's a lion there. Second sentence is true if there's no contradiction in a lion being in the room next to you.
I don't think the addition of stating what's something is logically or not is relevant. I'm not stating what you can conceive of or not in this case. What I'm stating is simply that you're not providing a mechanism in the example where you just say, well, like gravity turns off.
Right. There wouldn't be one.
There'd be no reason for gravity to turn off. I'm not sure what
That's
you're
right.
trying to get at.
Yes, so as far as our physics understands, there would be no reason for gravity to turn off. I was talking about it as an event with no reason.
Okay, and you're okay. So I don't understand why that's relevant. I mean, do you think the entire universe operates on chaos?
No.
So why would things happen for no reason then?
Well, there wouldn't be a reason for it, right? That's why it would be for no reason. It's just so I'm just talking about what's logically possible. The ontological argument.
I'm not. I'm actually talking about. Well, now you're gonna. No. I'm not like shifting or anyway. We're right now. We're still under the subheader of is God. Is the idea of necessity entailed in the idea of a perfect or maximally great being? Right. That's what I was originally asking about. And then I tried to define what I mean by necessity, and then your response was gravity turns off.
No, my response was that in our world, gravity is needed to keep the Earth around the sun, right? That's a true fact. Gravity is necessary for orbits.
Yeah, but then I'm not asking if like gravity is necessary for orbits. I'm saying there are a lot of things that operate a certain way, and those seem to be contingent on other things, which implies that the further you go down or back, the more necessary the things that you're referring to are going to be. I didn't hear a response to that. What I heard was gravity turns off, and I don't understand how that's like a response.
Oh, so I was responding to the notion of necessity you were talking about there, right? Like I took you to be talking about in our world, this is like X is necessary for Y, and Y is necessary for Z. And I would agree with a statement like that. But there's no like bottoming out point, right? There's no like at bottom, everything exists contingently and can be otherwise. So by
Why are you
transitivity,
making such
everything
a
else can
statement, though?
too.
I don't know why you believe that.
Just because there's no contradiction in it.
No, that doesn't mean that it's the case. There's no contradiction with other things, I guess, but like there's no contradiction with there not being I don't know, a dog in my bathroom right now. That doesn't make it the case.
Yeah, it makes it. It's not the case in this world. Sure, it's not the case empirically, but it's the case. It's logically true that is logically possible for there to be a dog in your bathroom.
Just because there can be a dog in your bathroom doesn't mean there necessarily is.
The reason you gave for why here no the reason when I just asked you why do you believe it's the case that the fundament of reality or the root of reality is just contingency with no qualifications or whatever, and you said because it's something because I can conceive of it, and then I said like
because there's no contradiction.
How is that okay, sorry. You said there's no contradiction, and that's your reason for believing it's actually the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't follow. There's no reason to believe there's no reason to believe that you've given.
Because whatever you would posit at the bottom, like the ground floor of reality, whatever's going to explain everything else, that itself is contingent. And it exists and is what it is for no reason. And so it can change. And then all the things it grounds would also change, or could change, rather.
What is it contingent on, then?
It's not a dependency relation. It's just
that's
the
what
lack of a
contingency
reason.
means. No, that's what contingency means. So you're talking about a brute contingency?
I'm just mean contingent as in logically contingent, no contradiction in being otherwise.
I'm not sure what the thing is by adding in that it's logically this or that. It doesn't matter. Like you're just talking about the ability to imagine something, right? In this case, you're imagining something happening for no reason, and then you're stating that that's the case, as if that's a reason to believe it. Stating that you can imagine something happening with no reason, by definition, isn't a reason.
But I told you what the reason to believe it is, right? It's just the lack of contradiction. I'm making a claim about logical possibility. And whatever you posit as like the thing at the bottom of reality, that thing is logically contingent.
No, I think it's just a contradiction in terms. I'm not sure if you're like trolling or something, but
Well, what's the contradiction?
You're using the word contingency in a completely weird way.
I'm using it in like the most like basic, obvious way that there's no contradiction. I'm just talking about logical possibility. That's all.
No, like contingency doesn't mean anything about. It's not just about the idea of like lack of contradiction. Contingency is pointing out a real relationship between things. So it doesn't really have to do with your mind or your epistemic capacities of conception. It just refers to that one thing actualizes another.
Right. So X actualizes Y, right? If X has no reason to be what it is in the way that it is, if X changes, then Y can also change. For that to be not true, you'd have to give a reason why X has to exist and has to exist the way that it does.
Oh, okay. So you're just saying X. So X and Y, which appear to be like related or have some relation, in fact, they just happen.
No, as a matter of fact, they could have a relation. I already gave the example of gravity, right? It is a matter of fact true that the Earth's orbit is dependent on gravity. But gravity is not, gravity is not logically necessary. Gravity could change. Or rather, there's no contradiction in gravity changing.
Yeah, but that's not what I said. So X and Y just happen, right?
Ultimately, yes.
Okay, so you're not providing that there's any reason for why they're happening, therefore it's just a brute fact that they happen, right?
Well, there would be like a transitivity relation to the thing that you might posit as being at the bottom, because the thing at the bottom can change. Then just as a matter of fact, the stuff at grounds would change or could change.
So yeah, that's just chaos, absolutely. So what you're stating is that everything happens just because the root of everything is change, and therefore there is no such thing as necessity.
Yeah, there's no logical necessity. Things don't have to be what they are.
Well, no, there's just no necessity at all. Things could just be different for no reason, because everything does happen for no reason.
Well, yes, that's true. Things can change in the future for no reason.
And if
Well, they do change for no reason, is what you're stating. You're claiming that that's the case.
No, I'm claiming it's a logical possibility.
I don't think so. I asked you for the reason why you're stating that it is the case, and your reasoning, or your proof was that you could just that X just that you can just say gravity changes. That's it. Like that was. There's nothing else.
You're asking me why I believe what I believe. What thing do you think I believe? Like, what claim do you think I'm making here?
You made the claim that gravity. Well, no, you okay. So in terms of claims, I don't know, but what you said was, you can show one change, gravity goes away, and that's it. It's an unqualified statement, right?
Okay, I think you're following.
Yeah, and then there's no necessity to speak of in that regard. But if you want to push it down, you would get down to brute contingency. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Well, I mean, if brute contingency is just going to be the claim that like everything exists for no necessary reason and is what it is for no necessary reason, then yeah.
Okay, so there's no reason why anything happens the way that it does.
Not a logically necessary one.
That's not no. Okay, yeah. So yeah, not a necessary one. Yeah. Okay. How is that not just chaos? I don't understand that.
Well, just because something is logically possible doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Well, if the root of reality is brute contingency, then I don't see why it wouldn't happen, at least eventually.
Well, that would be a probabilistic claim, right? But you can't make a probabilistic claim about events without reason.
Why not?
Because our probabilistic claims depend on like a fact about the world in a given time frame, and there's no fact about the world, as far as I know, that could cause gravity to change. And because there's no fact about the world that could cause gravity to change, there's no calculable probability of that event taking place.
There's no fact about the world, but you stated that you can conceive of it.
Yeah, but my conception doesn't cause it.
Yeah, but you said that it could be the case because you can conceive of it.
Oh
yes, it could be the case in the future. Yes.
Do you know the difference between logical and physical possibility?
Who are you asking?
Just anyone. Like the difference between logical possibility.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about gravity. That's the distinction I'm making, right?
Well, no, you're stating that like something is physically. At first, I thought at least you were stating that like, again, there's no necessity per se to gravity, and the reason that that's the case is because it's logically possible that gravity could change.
There's no logical necessity to it, right?
Yeah, but that's a physical claim, right, about the world. which
Logical
is
necessity?
which is then rooted. No. That was you were stating about the. You're moving on to the physical possibility because you're stating at the root of reality is brute contingency.
Hmm.
Yeah. So then, not only are you stating it's logically, but you're stating it's physically. Like not like there's no necessity to the physical way things are.
There's no logical necessity to it. Like
No,
physical
no,
necessity just
you've moved
describes
on
our
from that
world.
now. No, you clearly moved on from that, and you stated that the root of reality is just brute contingency. So that's a
Mhm.
physical state of affairs. You're making a physical claim.
No, that's not a claim about physical possibility.
Really? So stating that the root of reality is brute contingency is not a state of affairs in the world.
It's not a claim about physical modality. No, I mean whatever somebody wants to posit as like the bottom doesn't have to be a physical thing.
So what is it then?
Oh, I'm not even sure there is one, or like I don't think there's any need for such an idea.
I don't. That's not an answer. You said it's not this. I mean, I'm not sure what you're saying it is then.
Yeah, I'm not even sure there is a need for such an idea. I mean,
That
like, there
I don't
there
know
could be one that I'm
what
unaware of, but if there is one,
there could be a what?
um,
Yo,
like the beginning of the chain of like the dependencies that exist as a matter of fact in our world.
Well, okay. So there's okay. So you're saying there's a chain of affairs that's not that's contingent. That's your claim.
Hmm.
Okay, but in contingency means what?
Logical contingency, a lack of contradiction in being otherwise.
Well, okay. Wait a minute. So the chain of contingency extends into the physical realm, does it not? Regardless of what nature you want to characterize the root as.
Yeah, physical modality is a real thing. Some things are physically possible and some things are physically impossible in our world.
Oh, well, I'm asking you about contingency, right? So I'm just stating, well, yeah, some things are possible, some things are impossible. They could be, oh, wait, no, because that would be, wait, hold on a second. Now I'm confused on your usage of contingency there. Like, I think, yeah, I think you're just stating there's like a scope to it, maybe? Like, so like within, like, so like, are you saying there's like there's necessity within contingency? Is that what you're getting at?
No. Um, like, so will it help if I say that, um, like, so far as we know with our physics, right? There's nothing in the universe that can cause gravity to change, right? So, like in that sense, gravity is physically necessary, but that doesn't mean there's a contradiction in gravity changing. It's logically contingent. So there can be lots of physical necessities, but they can change because they're not logically necessary.
They're not logically necessary?
Right. There's no contradiction in gravity becoming a repulsive force tomorrow.
I don't know. I think that's pretty inconceivable, to be honest.
But it's not contradictory.
No, I
Because
think
you
it
can't
is
conceive it.
You can
contradictory
tell
given
No.
other things, right?
you can tell a science fiction story in which gravity reverses. I mean, it happens
Without it
locally
being
in science fiction
contradictory,
stories all
yeah.
the time.
No, but there's a contradiction in it, which is that competing factors, which are known through physics, show that that's not how things work. Like, there's no reason
But things
to,
can
and there's no.
change,
Well,
as you
that's a
mentioned before,
claim.
right?
That's just a claim.
just look up like the difference between logical and physical possibility.
I don't understand how now you're saying things can change, but
Oh
then
wait,
that's a
you
physical
were
claim.
saying how
It's not a
you
physical
can see
claim, no.
everything
It
needs a
is.
cause.
So, sorry,
Right.
when I say it's
You're
not a physical claim, I mean it's not like there's nothing in the universe that can cause gravity to change now. And of course, I'm
So
assuming
there's
that I don't actually know anything
necessity.
about
So then
physics.
there's a state of affairs within this brute contingency that creates necessity. That's what I asked you.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the idea of physical necessity in our world.
So you're changing, like, I don't know, either you're changing what you just said than prior, or you're still not being clear on
No, so we started
what you
talking
mean
about.
by saying all things are contingent.
Yeah, so like I'm doing my best to use the word logical contingency every time. And like you get the difference between logical and physical, right?
Okay, so you're just using it. You're not actually using it at all to mean that there could be, like if I say I can imagine something, or if I to be more specific, not just imagination, because again, like if you say something is logically necessary, right, or whatever, you're not just saying like, how do I put it?
If something's
I don't know,
logically
like
necessary, there would be a
if you say,
contradiction in saying it doesn't exist.
okay, yeah, so again, like there has to be a contradiction in it, like, but like you saying gravity changes, I can find contradictions in that. Like that's what I'm saying. We know from relativity
To be
and
clear, I
all
didn't
this
say
stuff.
gravity changes.
You did. That was literally the example you gave. You said I can show you one change,
Of it changing
gravity
tomorrow.
goes away.
Right. That was like an example of a logical possibility happening tomorrow.
Yo, discernible. Can I try to like help? Because you guys aren't getting anywhere. This isn't like a really hard thing.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna be clear whether you were saying logical whatever just means there's something in my imagination
No, it means
versus
lack of
actually
contradiction.
versus actually stating that this thing lacks contradictions, which gravity changing tomorrow would entail contradictions according to physics,
Well, what contradiction would that be?
like relativity.
How so?
It's not,
Because time and
it's not
space are
logical.
unified. No, time and space are unified. It's not conceivable that gravity just disappears and the world's still there. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the world doesn't necessarily have to be there.
No, because space and time are one. So you can't just say,
I'm not
well,
denying.
today like gravity's just gone over here.
But remember, I like when I first brought up the gravity thing, the first consequence I mentioned is the Earth wouldn't be revolving around the sun anymore, right? I'm not denying effects of gravity ceasing to exist, obviously.
No, you would have to entail that actually space wouldn't exist either, because the two are going to be simultaneous.
Space is logically contingent.
So no, I mean I don't know, that's a contradiction. Like you're saying you can just imagine gravity turning off and the planets floating away or whatever. I don't know what it would do with no gravity, but in that scenario, in your imagination,
I don't
but
know.
Like, in reality, the contradiction and what we can surmise from like reason is that that's impossible because you like even the imagination there is just mathematically not real. Like you can't even imagine gravity turning off as a logical possibility because the thing that you're imagining wouldn't exist. There would be no space for gravity to just like turn off and then things float away or whatever.
You can imagine
conceivability and inconceivability is only one part of logical possibility, right? Like I don't know all the effects of switching gravity off, and I don't know if I could imagine them all if I did know. That doesn't mean there's a contradiction.
No, it does mean that there's a contradiction, and I just showed you that.
What's the contradiction in gravity turning off at some
You
later
can't
point?
imagine gravity turning off because the thing that you're imagining wouldn't exist anymore.
But I just said that, like, I don't know if I can conceive of the effects. Just because I can't conceive of something doesn't mean it's logically contradictory.
You can conceive of the effects. That's part of the process of determining whether something's logically, whether it's logically possible or not. You have to be able to entail like what is known.
Tomorrow, we would
you have to use what you know about that thing in order to determine whether it's possible or not logically.
Like, you're telling me that if gravity changed, it would contradict this other thing we know about physics, right?
Yeah, you can't reference gravity without referencing a whole host of other things. So when you just imagine something impossible, like actually impossible, logically impossible, which is gravity turning off.
I never denied
Then
that
you're
sort of
entailing a
relation.
contradiction.
If
That's
gravity
not logical
changing,
possibility.
if gravity changing means all that other stuff has to change too, then it can.
What?
If gravity changing means all that other stuff you mentioned has to change as well, it can do that.
That's again just another statement in a vacuum that you're making. I think
Of
you
logical
have like a
possibility,
very
yes.
weird perspective where you just think because you can say something it makes it true. I don't have that
That's
view.
your
That, like in my
perspective.
view, that doesn't justify your belief.
If the claim is of non-contradiction, it being non-contradictory just does make it true.
No,
Like
because
it is true
you're
that
not
there's
even
no
showing.
contradiction in there being a tiger in the room next to you. That's just true.
Okay, I don't know what do you think, like how do you think this relates to your earlier claim that nothing is necessary in the universe?
Well, that's what we're talking about. Nothing is logically necessary, right? Nothing has a necessary reason for existing or existing the way that it does. So anything can cease to exist or change.
Okay, so everything that you state is in virtue of nothing. There is no fundamental
In virtue
reason
of
or truth
non-contradiction.
behind anything that you're saying. There's like what you're saying could be true now and then not true in an hour, right?
About contradiction? No.
No, just about anything. Everything is brutally contingent. So what you're saying now could just be another way, logically speaking, at least, right? Like what you're saying could just flip to being false.
What, about everything being contingent?
No, everything that you could ever say about anything under this system.
Yes, of course. The sun is yellow and tomorrow it could be blue, and me saying it's yellow would be false. Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're not on. I don't know. I think you're conflating between actual possibility and logical possibility, and you're not considering that logical possibility does consider like what's physically possible or not, and
No, it
also that
doesn't.
when you make statements about what's logically like what the fundamental state of the world is, you are also entailing a physical like entailment there. You are talking about the way the world actually works, and you're making a claim about how the world works.
No, I'm making a claim about how the world could work in the future.
Yeah. So again, that's going to be also related to physical possibility.
No, I'm not making a claim about how the world works now. I'm making a claim about how the world could work in the future.
Exactly. So you're referring to a future possible state of affairs that physically exists.
Potentially, physically, yes. Doesn't have to be physical.
Yeah. So therefore, you're saying that you're referring to a physical state of affairs, and you're saying that it's contingently the case that this could be true or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're saying, again, this may or may not happen, right? It's you're referring to what will or will not happen in reality based on your conception of its possibility.
Well, I didn't say will or will not. I said could.
Yeah, and entailed in the idea of could is actually entering into reality, so there's no contradiction there.
No, could doesn't mean will.
No, I'm not saying out of necessity, right? Clearly, we're speaking in terms of contingency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying will in the sense of negating that it could be different. I'm just stating merely by saying that things could be this way or that way. It seems to me you are referring to what will eventually happen one way or the other, right? So it's still a physical claim.
No.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, to say what will happen, again, you have to point at like a fact of our world, right? But there's no facts in our world that can cause gravity to change. So there's no inductive argument to be made about gravity changing.
Okay. But again, do you think that it could change?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
that's based on the conceivability of it changing alone?
The lack of contradiction. Mm-hmm.
And then that's actually a possibility.
It's a logical possibility, yes.
No, based on the logical possibility, you can conclude it may be an actual possibility, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, well, yeah, there you go. So you are making claims about what's actually possible. There you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you've changed the word to actually possible. We're talking about physically possible all along. Yeah, of course. What's logically possible is actually possible.
Right. So you're just straightforwardly you're stating, because I can conceive that there could be a dog in my room, that makes it actually the case, at least
No.
in possibility.
No. Actually the case, at least in possibility, that sentence doesn't make sense.
It does make sense the way you framed everything. It just took
No.
me a second to use your own words.
Those weren't my words.
Yeah, I believe they were.
They
But anyway,
certainly
I just showed that you are referring to the way that things are or are not, or the way that they are or are not in possibility, which still applies back to our world. So
In
you
the
are just
future.
making claims. You are just making claims about possibility, outside of a logical context. You're referring to the real world. At first, you were denying that. You were just saying, "Well, all I'm
No,
saying
I'm not.
here." No, yeah. At first, you were saying, "All I'm saying here is that I can imagine something one way or another." That
I
was
don't know
your
why you
initial
keep
claim.
saying that. I
You
didn't
said,
say imagine.
wait. You specifically said, "I'm not making any physical claims," and
Right.
you've tried to resist that for the past 10 minutes, and now I
I'm
just
not.
made you admit it.
No. I think you just misunderstood what I said.
Well, either that or you're just being dishonest and you don't want me to understand what you're saying, even though I'm sitting here trying my hardest to understand it.
I think what I'm saying
Because
is really simple and you do understand it.
it's not really simple. Like, if it was really simple, why do you think I'm sitting here not understanding it?
But like I think you're like overcomplicating it because you think there must be something more to what I'm saying.
No, I'm okay. There is obviously more to what you're saying. Of course.
Can you repeat the claim?
My claim is that everything is logically contingent, which just means there's no being that has a necessary reason for existing or existing the way that it does.
That is bullshit. Everything is causal. Everything exists out of a purpose. You only exist because your parents chose to fuck and create you. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you wouldn't exist.
So at the beginning of this conversation, I said, like, I don't deny that there are like relations between things in the world. Those relations are just contingent.
They are causal.
Yeah, and they're contingent. They can be both.
Well, here's the thing, though. I told him the same thing. I said that's whack, right? Like, this idea is just nonsense on its face, right? Because nobody believes the world works this way or it can't.
Because it doesn't. It is just wrong what he says. They are not contingent. Your father, for example, impregnated your mother because he found her attractive, because he has a biological urge for procreation.
Yeah,
All these things
I'm
are
not making a claim about
contingent.
the way the world works.
You are making a claim
Then
about the
you
way the
are
world works.
making a worthless philosophy. If your ideas don't translate to reality, they are worthless. David Hume's basic principle.
Well, I mean, I don't really care about that. I say I'm just drawing out the consequences of rejecting the ontological argument.
Oh no, you actually never said that. So I wasn't addressing something that you never said, just to be clear.
That's how the conversation started.
No. Our conversation started with you making a specific claim, right?
That everything's contingent.
Well, wait a second. I wasn't aware that the reason you were stating that was as some kind of response. I thought that you were just making a statement, and I was addressing that in its own right.
Wait,
I mean, yeah, I thought that.
What's the conclusion of the ontological argument?
The conclusion of my ontological argument is that God must exist.
And I said, nothing has to exist. How did you not hear that as a response to your claim?
Because it wasn't.
Everything has to exist. For time, you have to have particles that move. Otherwise, you don't have Kalman's principle of particle movement, ergo no time. Which is the entire concept of, for example, freezing people, because they hope to get to a point where the particles stop moving, which is in fact
I don't
possible.
deny those relations.
Sure,
Okay,
but
look,
it is necessary for the particles to exist for this principle to exist. So
Yeah.
the existence of particles is a necessity, is it not?
Yeah, we have been over this already.
Okay, he's doing like a weird double thing. Like he's using double speak because he'll say, "I'm not making a claim about what's really going on in the world, but I'm just stating I can think of something in my brain." And then he'll also state that at the fundament of reality, there is no necessity.
Mhm.
And then so somehow stating that there is no real relationship between things.
Yeah, but I'm the real
means
guy to tango with this guy because I'm a Schopenhauer guy and I believe necessity is the mother of all things. Everything in this universe is necessary. So I'm having the complete counter argument to him. Suffering is necessary without suffering. When you touch fire and you burn, you need suffering to know that touching the burny thing is bad for you. People without suffering, there is a medical condition where you don't feel pain. Those are people who constantly break their bones, their ribs and so on because their body is unable to warn them from danger. Every single thing in this physical universe serves a purpose. You can ignore that, but that just makes you ignorant and stupid. Everything in this universe serves a purpose. Every single thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just going to disagree with that. Or
Can you give
rather,
me a counter argument? Can you give me something that has no necessity, that doesn't follow a clear purpose? Anything. I gave you multiple examples.
yeah, so the thing I'm denying is that like the world as it is must be the way that it is. I'm not denying the world is the way that it is. Right? So your
No
description of the
abstract
world,
claims. Give
your
me
description of the world
something
could be
concrete.
correct.
Do you understand? Do you understand how philosophy works? We look at something in a microcosmos. We also do that in science because we are not able to analyze the world. And we look, does the principle work small scale? And then we say, can it probably work big scale? What I'm asking you is to apply your logic on something mundane and show me
but
how
Milo's
it is
not doing a
not
bath right now.
necessary.
Yeah,
Sorry,
your description of the world could be correct.
If my description of the world is correct, then yours is wrong.
No.
Yes.
Look, the fact that when you touch fire, you get burned. It's a true fact in our world, but it's logically contingent.
No, is the question that you feel pain in fire serve a purpose, an evolutionary biological purpose? Yes or no?
I assume so.
Not assume. Pretty much every single biologist. There are things where biologists disagree,
Yeah, we can
but
just
the
say yes.
working of. Okay, yes.
I'm not disputing your
can agree.
account of the world as it exists.
So everything in this universe follows a necessity. It is there for a reason, right?
Not a logically necessary one.
Can you give me something that is there without a reason for it? Anything.
I think something that would exist without a reason and something that would exist for a mysterious reason would be phenomenally identical.
Give me an example for something that exists without a purpose, without a necessity for it existing. Anything. Give me it.
A particular thing? I just told you why I can't.
So you can't. So you're unable to substantiate your claim or demonstrate it. Thank you
so
very much. So it's
I've
worthless.
repeatedly said I'm not describing the world as it is.
It is a worthless claim in that fact. It is just you rambling because you're unable to substantiate it with anything. See how fast this went?
Yeah, it's a consequence of rejecting the ontological argument.
It's a consequence
God.
of you, my dear friend, rejecting reason and reality. That is
goodness.
it.
Don't wanna
Yeah,
do
I
that.
would 100% agree. That's the only step that I had left, basically, was once I somehow got you to stop denying that you are making physical claims about reality, you're referring to the way the world actually works.
I don't know why you're saying that.
In the sense, because you're talking about the relations that exist in the world. Between things, or in things, or of things, something about things.
No,
There's
my claim is
there's
that those
relationships.
relations could exist. Could change.
No, your claim is more fundamental. There doesn't even need to be relations.
That's true, but there are.
No.
What was the initial
Again,
claim?
that's actually the thing that you're doing to shift, because if you're referring to the ultimate as brute contingency, then again, there's no difference between saying things are the way they are because of reasons, and things are the way they are because things are the way they are.
Well, no, because the reasons can be contingent. There can be contingent reasons. We already went over this with gravity and the Earth.
I know you don't deny that reasons have.
Don't run into the weeds with him. Nail him down to give you an example. Give us an example of that, please. Give us an example. You're unable to produce one because it's bullshit.
He already said he's not going to give a reason. He said he can't, and he said
give me an example of your philosophy how it translates to reality.
I gave a reason why I can't, right? Because an event with a mysterious cause and an event with no cause would be phenomenally identical. To us, it would appear the same way.
He actually has to escape into mysticism. Dude, I'm telling you, he has no basis for this. He's literally arguing mysticism.
It's just non-contradiction.
I mean, I don't care what he's arguing. I just want to make it clear that the result of this system, when you go ahead and state that anything is, when you go ahead and state that at the root of reality, nothing or like no relationships are contingent, that means there's. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, when you state that at the root of reality there is nothing but contingency, that means that there's no order to whatever occurs. It just occurs randomly as by chaos, or there's simply no explanation that can be observed, which is pretty much the same thing. And so if that's if that's the thing that we're observing right now, because the world is just the world, and whatever, like however the world works is going to influence how we see it, then we're not even observing a world right now.
We're not even.
None of that follows.
Wait, this is my point. This is my whole point.
One question, Discernible. Why are you not currently committing suicide? Why are you still alive? Why haven't you killed yourself? Tell me.
Because I have things I want to do. And being as alive is a condition of doing them.
Wait, that's contingent. It's completely arbitrary. You could kill yourself. Imagine how much suffering you're gonna save yourself.
Okay,
from every year from now on.
Contingent and arbitrary are not the same thing.
Wait. From every year from now on, your suffering. From every year now on, your suffering will just increase in life. So, if everything is contingent and so on, you would need, what I'm going to get at, you would need real causal reasons to commit suicide, right? There would have to be real events that you would see as insurmountable odds to overcome that you would consider suicide.
I haven't said anything about odds.
Okay, so why do you want to be alive?
I already told you. Being alive is a condition of doing stuff I want to do.
Okay, and why do you want to do stuff?
Because they're awesome.
It doesn't matter, bro. This is where you don't get it, because he can literally just say it because that's the way things are, and even if that can change 2 minutes from now because everything is contingent, that's fine with him. It doesn't matter. Like, on his view, anything can be however it is.
That doesn't follow at all.
It does.
No, it doesn't. What does that have to do with anything?
Wait. Hold on a second. You're telling me that the reason that you feel the reason that you have certain emotions isn't just the way that it is?
Yeah, I'm not denying relations between things in the world, right? Like, my emotions are born in a certain set of relations.
Wait a second. Where did you hear me bring up relations? That wasn't my question.
You seem to think that I'm denying that my emotions have a reason for them.
No, I don't. I never said that. What I said was that, well, actually, that is ultimately what you're saying, but I understand that within the view of contingency, right, you can still have what appear to be reasons or whatever. But I'm saying that can ultimately your justification can simply be. Hold on a second. Again, I get that you're not denying there can be at least the appearance of cause, but ultimately anything that is just is for without qualification, and that would be. You could always just respond that way.
Ultimately, yes. So yes. Ultimately, yes.
Yeah,
okay. Wait. One question. Dude, can I fly without a machine? As a human, can I fly?
That's physically impossible in our world.
Wait. So it is the fact that I can't fly as a human without a machine aiding me is impossible. Is that causal relationship contingent? Is there any contingency there, or is it just factually right that I, as a human, can't fly?
In the future, the world could change such that you could fly without a machine.
I'm not talking about your sci-fi fantasies. Right now, we are talking today. Ceteris paribus, if everything remains as it is. me as a human saying I can fly without a machine. I can just will myself to fly. Is the fact that I can't contingent?
Yes.
Well,
Wait,
based on
like
what?
in our world, relative to our world?
I'm definitely
It's
talking
physically
about our
necessary that
world.
you
I'm not
can't.
talking about a sci-fi universe. Can I fly without a machine as a human?
Yeah, it's physically
So no.
impossible in our world.
Great. So is the fact that I can't fly contingent? And if so, you would have to demonstrate where the contingency lies.
The contingency lies in the regularities that prevent you from flying.
No, you have to demonstrate. I don't ask you for another definition. You are not Hegel, and this trick doesn't function with me. What would be the contingency? Define it. What would be the contingent element
The
that
lack of
questions the
contradiction.
empirical fact?
The lack
Oh
of
my God.
contradiction in your body changing such that you could fly without a machine.
See, this is where he's literally conflating conceivability, or logical possibility, with actual possibility. He's stating
Dude,
this is how
why are
the
you
world
saying
works.
that? I first said it's physically impossible. That was the first thing I said. Now you're like, I specifically, deliberately, separated the two, and then he got mad at me for separating them, and now you're accusing me
I'm
of
not
conflating
mad.
them. Come on.
I am saying that you're unable to demonstrate a contingency. It is clear that there is nothing contingent about the fact. It is a clear fact. It is about 99.99999. It is as empirical as a fact could get. And you're unable to demonstrate a contingency here.
Yeah, I'm
You're
not denying
unable.
the empirical fact.
Right. So the contingency there is wrong. Is there a reason why I as a human, there is a reason I can demonstrate it, why I as a human can't fly without a machine? For example, there is gravity.
I don't know
So
why I
we
have to
can
keep
say-
saying this. I'm not disputing a particular account of the world, the way it works.
Okay, but then all these things are necessary. I mean, we both agree that gravity exists for a reason. The
No,
reason is
I deny that. Well, actually, I
Okay,
don't know
why-
if gravity has a reason or not. You'd have to ask a physicist.
So wait, are you
But whatever
kidding
reason
me?
that
He
is
doesn't
contingent.
think gravity has a reason. We talked about this earlier. He literally said gravity could just turn off because I can imagine it.
No, because
Do you
there's no
have
contradiction
any
in it.
clue? I kind of understand now how flat earthers came into being, man. I mean, listen, I'm not a physicist, I'm an economist, but I went to
Wait,
something
the way to refute
called
me is to
school.
tell me what the contradiction is, the P and the
Oh,
not
wait.
P. All of this is just
Dude.
bloviating.
Bro, I went to a place called school, maybe you heard of it, and there you have like elementary physics. And one of the things, I don't know what you learn in your country, is for example electromagnetic fields of planets.
Oh my
Do you
god, I'm not
understand
denying some particular account of the world.
Okay, can there be only, here is one question. I agree with you, there are different inner worlds, there are different interpretation of the world. But physically, the outer world, as Schopenhauer would call it, is there only one physical world we all inhabit, or are there many physical worlds we all inhabit?
Yeah, we share one world.
Okay, there is one.
Wait, how do you know that? Wait, how do you know that though?
Wait,
Because you can
you
conceive
can't.
of it. Wait, can't you conceive of it to be otherwise?
But conceiving of things otherwise is about the future, not the present. For the present, you're just
Wait.
reliant on like other forms of reasoning, right? Inductive or abductive or deductive.
No, because you wouldn't have epistemic access to know whether we share the same world or not. So all you can use is logical possibility, right?
Well, I mean, like all this stuff is just going to end up being an inductive argument, right? And it's a defeasible inductive argument. Nothing I'm saying here proves not a brain in a vat.
Are you kidding me?
I'm saying you don't even know what world you're in. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I don't know why you'd say that.
Because you can conceive of it to be otherwise, according to you. So that might actually be the
I can
case.
conceive of things changing. Just because I can conceive of things being different doesn't mean they are different or that they will be different.
Yeah, but you also believe it's not necessary for them to be the way that they are. So of course so at any given time we could be in any given reality. That's equally possible as anything else.
Oh yeah, there's like no logical necessity for some connection between my mind and the world.
Okay, one question.
exactly.
When you have when
Wait,
you
what's the
have
problem
cancer,
with that? Of
and
course
you're
there's not.
wait.
You don't know
Let's
what world
say-
you live in. I just told you that.
Let's say you
Well,
have tomorrow
for
cancer.
some made-up
I
version
mean,
of the word no.
would you be wait? let's say you get tomorrow cancer. Would you be scared, or would you say, oh, maybe I'm just a brain in a wet? Maybe I'm not even real. Maybe why should I care about this cancer diagnosis?
Yeah,
Would you
I'm
get
not disputing
scared?
an account of the world in which getting cancer would make me afraid.
Sure, you would get afraid. Why would you? Because you don't know if you're even an inhabitant of this world. Why would you care about the sickness in this maybe false world? Do you have a job?
Because again, like what I'm saying here is not
Do
about.
do you have a normal 9-to-5 job? For example, when I play GTA, I would never get the idea to get
You're
a 9-to-5
misunderstanding
job
what's at
because
stake,
it's a. If you are not sure that this is a real world, why would you abide by its rules? Why
I
would you
never
not?
said that.
Why would you not be carpe diem? Live it up. I mean, who cares if you die if it's not the real world?
No, you're just confused about what's at stake in this conversation. I'm not disputing some account of the world, man. And I'm not
We are not
disputing an
talking
account
about
of the world in which I have to do
Just
stuff
call
to
it,
survive and have
just
fun.
call it the empirical reality of this world. How about that? This
Sorry,
world is
repeat?
empirically real, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so it abides by physical laws, right?
yeah.
Are these laws causal and empirical? We can observe them, we can falsify them, we can replicate them.
Yeah, again, I'm not disputing some account of the world.
This is not some account of the world. What other account of the world is there that's valid?
No, there probably isn't, right?
He
Like
doesn't.
our best
Dude,
account is going to come from physicists.
He can just conceive the world as otherwise. I don't think you get this.
Becoming otherwise in the future, yeah.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't, that's not even a necessary distinction. Nothing is necessary in your view.
I mean, we've been over this, dude. I'm talking about logical necessity.
Yeah, you're referring to an absolute. You're referring to an absolute contingency, which is going to affect all levels of quote unquote necessity.
Yes.
Exactly. So there is nothing, even in a local sense, that can be said to be truly necessary. You could say that it functions apparently in a certain way, but truly speaking, nothing really functions in any way. Everything
Well, usually
just kind of does whatever it
Again,
does.
meta ethics, right?
That
You're giving
doesn't follow from what I'm
examples
saying.
about flying humans and stuff, but I don't think that are valid examples for necessity. I think
Okay, I'm
usually
gonna give
the
you a
examples
very-
happen in.
True. I can give you a very easy example for necessity. If we talk about death, I live, I grow up, therefore I one day must die because my cells are aging. I am a human, I burn calories, I have to eat, otherwise I will starve. Or the best, this goes even back to ancient Greece, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man. Aristotle is mortal and will one day die. Okay? All these are causal necessity relationships.
Yeah, I'm
Are you
not denying
questioning
any of that.
any of them?
No, I don't even think that these are good examples. I think that the right example was all bachelors. What was it? That is the one-on-one example, right? What is it
I
again?
actually think the all bachelors are single is a pretty bad argument because it mostly goes into like fucking semantics. Okay?
Epistemology. I mean.
Yeah, it goes mostly into semantics. I just wanted to say people usually end up discussing Wittgenstein and Humboldt more with
Yeah, okay,
that
but then
than anything
discernible
else.
has a valid point because in the future maybe there is something like you cannot die because some gene therapy
Are
or
you
something.
kidding
Yeah,
me?
it can change in the
In
future.
what? Wait. In what philosophical context is the argument? I like sci-fi. I believe we will develop a technology that makes people immortal. A valid philosophical argument. In what? Can you give me any philosopher that argued that way?
Look, the claim is just that
Okay,
there's a lack of
maybe you're right.
contradiction.
Okay, let's say that as of now, let's say then that is a necessary statement. Sure, I will grant you that then. But
The claim is just that there's a lack of contradiction in it.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not. Entailed in the
Yeah,
quote
it is.
unquote. No, it's not. Entailed in the supposed lack of contradiction, and then you're actually stating that nothing is necessary. So that has real world implications. You're actually stating how the world really works, and that affects how we interact with it.
Yeah, so nothing is necessary just based on like transitivity, right? So like gravity is
No,
necessary.
I have
for the
no
Earth to
idea
go around
what
the sun.
bloviation you just said.
What's that?
I don't know what you're bloviating about transitivity for. I don't know. I don't even know what you're referring to
So
by saying that.
gravity in our world,
on.
gravity is necessary for the Earth to go around the sun, right? we
In
already went over
every
this.
single
Your view,
world,
no.
Imagine a
you know
situation
it
in
is.
which
Wait.
one
In
change
what world
takes
is it
place.
different?
Well, hold on. He's
Wait,
he's
in what
responding to
world
me.
is it different? He said in our world. In what world is it different?
A logically possible future world.
I'm not asking you for your fantasy. I'm asking you for showing me a world where it is like that. Can
Oh my
you
God,
right
dude, it's not an
now,
empirical claim. Why don't you
empirically-
understand this?
You don't have. You have the metaphysical fantasy of a world where gravity serves another purpose. But in relationship to reality as it is right now, your claims have no relationship to reality, right?
It's an example
Well,
of
the
a
worst part is
non-contradictory
that you're
future
stating that
possibility.
there's no contradiction when there is one. That's the problem.
And I
No,
thought we
I
resolved
think
that.
discernible has a point. So there's not even a sure answer what gravity is, right? I don't think even gravity is an actual thing. It's something that what is it? Like gravity equals what is it? The acceleration or something? You know what I mean? So gravity might just be an illusion, just like time. So we can
I
even say for
disagree.
sure.
Disagree
What?
hard.
I'm not saying it's an illusion.
The physical
Oh my God.
physical concept of gravity, and there is
Sure.
the scientific model of gravity. Now the scientific model of gravity can be wrong. This would be a wrong interpretation of humans of the physical reality.
Mhm.
But the physical reality, or as Schopenhauer calls it, the outer world, is uncaring of our wrong interpretations. Can we
Yeah.
agree on that?
Oh yes, for sure. But then
Mhm.
universes might behave in different ways. So we are not sure if there are many universes and stuff. So I would like to keep this necessity versus contingent argument just in the metaphysical sphere. I think that's
I would
usually
say
how you
what's
use.
funny. What's funny is that on your system, the only thing that's necessary is contingency. Therefore, refuting the fact that nothing is necessary.
Yes.
And
so
I
you do
don't
believe
even,
that. You
yeah,
do
and I
believe
don't
in ultimate
agree with that.
necessity.
You
believe in ultimate necessity. You just add in for no reason, for no intuitive reason at least, that there has to be contingency on every level in reality. Like you just say that.
Yeah, you just said it. The only necessity is contingency. Yeah.
In my experience, people who argue for things like contingency and the universe being chaotic and arbitrary are usually people with
I didn't say
completely
it was
weak
chaotic and
insane.
arbitrary. It's obviously
That
ordered.
is the entailment.
If the universe was chaotic and arbitrary, consciousness wouldn't function.
But isn't consciousness
not
like
true.
the only fact that we know about the world that is like a
No,
necessity?
Hold on a second. That's not true, discernible.
Yeah,
Because
it is.
hey, no, it isn't.
Our
no, it's
consciousness, yeah, it wouldn't function if it was true
No,
chaos.
that's just false.
Okay,
That's
how
just
so?
false. Because like a monkey writing on a typewriter for 280 billion years will happen to write Shakespeare.
No,
Right.
that's false.
That's
No,
not
it's
the
not
chaos
false.
I'm talking about.
It
not
is
false.
false.
No, it
The
isn't.
odds are like beyond anything.
That's-
Like people.
Okay, then make
cannot-
it 100 billion to the 80
Also,
septillionth
nope.
power. Then
That's not the
and
chaos
then
I'm talking
you're
about.
right
It will not happen. Even that. It sounds like something that can happen in odds, but no, that's not a thing.
Well, I
No,
mean,
it's-
it's irrelevant because that's not the chaos I'm talking
True.
about.
No, it is.
Talk
It's
about,
exactly,
if you
it's
want to talk
exactly
about
what you're talking
probability, I can back up his point with the entropic principle. The entropic principle says for us to have this conversation, which is why I love the entropic principle because it's causal as fuck. Everything, any single thing in history had to happen exactly the way it did in physical as in human history, in both ways. Otherwise, things don't happen. Now let's just focus on the biology. Evolution happening to the degree it did in the orderly fashion to lead to causal results
I don't
in
understand how
a
you
purely
don't
random
understand,
way.
dude. The facts of the world are irrelevant to what I'm saying.
You're
Like,
saying that
every
evolution
time you
is
start talking
random?
about the facts
Is
of
that
the
what you're
world, you're talking
claiming?
about something else.
No, I'm saying evolution is extremely orderly and causal. That's my claim.
Yeah, it's very orderly and cold. I agree.
Okay, that's irrelevant. Evolution is irrelevant. Again,
I'm trying to explain
what
the point to
you're-
him, but he says physical reality doesn't relate to his philosophy. But how can you have a philosophy that has no relationship with physical reality?
okay, so like, dude, like Lucas, what you stated, I don't even understand how you don't get this. If you
Okay.
have an infinite amount of time where random things happen, everything will just happen.
Okay, but I think you're underestimating the time how long infinite is.
No,
Like
I'm just saying everything that in terms of nothing can't happen. That's like the definition of pure chaos.
He is right. Lightbear is right. If you take the mathematical and the philosophical definition of infinity, mathematically everything must be possible because its time is infinite. Everything should then happen.
I still disagree.
That means you would still wind up with a world with, quote unquote rules, which are really illusions. But yeah, they could just change tomorrow, or they could be different right now for all anyone cares.
Wait, I'm not saying gravity is the result of monkeys typing or some long set of
no
events.
one stated that. I didn't state that monkeys typing is the root of reality.
It was your metaphor, right, for long series of events producing something like our world.
Yeah, it's a metaphor, bro.
Yeah, and that's how I used it too.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's like the mechanism, sure. Like the mechanism, I guess.
Right, and I'm not saying that's what made gravity.
Well, that's the implication if nothing is necessary besides...
That's to show...
No.
What I wanted to get at with the evolution argument was we have thousands of planets in the Milky Way, and we know that with modern scientific research, who could sustain life. The problem is, why don't they? They have maybe at maximum microbic life. This is what real scientists think. The only aliens we will find are probably microbes on Earth-like planets somewhere in the Milky Way, but I'm, for example, of the camp that we never will leave our solar system, because it's just too hard. However, the necessities on growing life like humans, monkeys, and lions are so special and so conditional that it proves that that necessity is a real thing and contingency is not really touching it, because then these other planets should also have thinking and evolving life, but there is no evidence of that. If it was,
I agree with your first statements, not with the last one though.
Look, discernible. I've talked to you before, and I think I've heard you state similar things. I don't know why I don't know why you lie and hide the fact that you believe that reality is pure chaos and chance.
It's not. If it was, consciousness would not function.
That's just a statement. Why can't it just be the case that it does? I can conceive of that.
Well, no, you literally can't.
No, I am.
I'll explain why. Right.
No, I'm conceiving of it now. There's no explanation.
So if everything was changing from split second to split second, you would never have a moment in which you could think about a particular time slice, right? So you wouldn't be able to say, "Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird." Like your mind would be like not even white noise. But I'll just say white noise.
Who are you to say that your mind isn't white noise based on your definitions?
I mean, because it's not.
No, that's just a claim. Just a claim. As far as you know,
experience would be, there wouldn't even be an illusion of experience.
That's just a claim. That's just a claim.
I just told you why.
No, you made a
experience
claim.
wouldn't even be white noise if things were constantly frenetically changing. There would never be a moment that you could distinguish from another moment.
Nope, that's not true. That might appear to be the case, but I can conceive of it being otherwise.
Well, of course, that's just what I mean by chaos.
No, that's what you mean by logical contingency or whatever. And I'm telling you...
No, that's what I mean by chaos.
Yeah, and I'm saying that perfectly describes your definition of everything being logically contingent.
No. How does
because
chaos being the case follow from contingency?
Because nothing necessarily needs to be any particular way. Right. Even if it happens to be a certain way, which you've conceded multiple times, things do happen to be however they are. Mm-hmm. That's immaterial to what's at stake here. We're saying that anyways, it's not based on a particular condition that anything is the way that it is, because any particular condition may be a different way. That means
a different way.
Any condition can be. That means all conditions can just be different, and you can still have the same thing. That's just rationality right there.
No, there has to be like order for even the illusion of consciousness to arise.
Well, then something is necessary.
Consciousness is not necessary. There doesn't have to be a world with consciousness.
I think it is necessary though. think it's the only fact we can all agree on, that this is necessary, right? And
I would say in the context that we are philosophizing, yes. For us to have this conversation, for us to even have construct